Thank you very much, Kalaris and Gillyweed. So the ending of this game was basically protect the VIP, right? Protect the Abathur. His slaps on the court were detrimental. No, jokes aside. I mean, it was a very solid performance by X Team, but just like in the first series between MVP and Renovatio, the underdog on paper, they didn't go down without a fight. They put up a good show there, Wolf.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing to note about X Team's performance there is the shot calling that we had was like super on point. I was sitting next to them hearing them call Elegance screaming, going crazy, saying like when to fight, when he's gonna, when the Snakes are gonna go down. And I think Mbisaka was really the MVP. They're not because he like went and slapped the core later on, but he made sure, even with aggressively brewing, that the top lane was always pushed. If you watch that entire game, you'll see the top lane is non-stop pushed.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we've talked about Abathur and how he shaped the game, but let's take a look at the first highlight of the game. Jaeho, talk us through it, and let's see how Abathur was involved.
The biggest thing I want to take a look at is something Todd talked about before the game. Let's go ahead and pause it right here. We're going to look at the positioning on this side. Look how spread out we have them. They're all centered around there while we have the aggression coming in from X Team. They're about to come in. Let's go ahead and start rolling this. And we're going to see down here at the bottom. Let's go ahead and pause it one more time real quick as we take a look right here. Abathur clones, and this is where it breaks. The team on this side for Negative Synergy splits, and we're going to see, let's go ahead and run this through. Watch Kael'thas on the back left side. He comes around, he gets a gravity lapse, but look at the bottom. As we start to see the rotation, Kael'thas gets left alone, and this fight breaks right there. You're going to see it at the very left. Kael'thas, in comes Greymane, as we talked about. There's the aggression from X Team that we talked about. They are down to fight. The minute they committed with Abathur, they went all in and really turned this into their advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, this also goes back to one of the things that I was talking about, where in the pregame, where if X Team gets some kind of leads and momentum, they never really let go of it. Like, they know how to play very well from when ahead.
Right.
They won the first Immortal, that was the second one, I think, or maybe the third one. They just kept winning it. No, that was the third one, yeah. They just keep winning every single Immortal fight that they take, more and more with each and every single time. But I feel like there were a lot of big mistakes as well from Negative Synergy, in particular on that second one, when they weren't 10 yet and they tried to fight. They were like 9, 9.5, and they weren't even soaking. Like, there is an Abathur on the other side, and they are there trying to fight, trying to defend their Immortal. That's never going to go well for that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like rule number 1 for me in Heroes of the Storm. You never fight with 9 against 10. You stay on the lane if you have to. Sometimes I let my entire team die, just proving that point, but you have to get at level 10 yourself, and now it was a major mistake, and they just kept on falling more and more behind after that.
Also, a good point you mentioned there. I mean, there were a lot of individual mistakes, I want to call it, because let's be honest, Murden died way more than he should have. Also, I think Rehgar's positioning was sometimes not optimal. He was very far away from the targets that he should have ancestral healed.
Yeah,
so,
but that was on Kael'thas, I think, a lot more.
Yeah,
Kael'thas was like very far away on his own so many times. Even in that replay that you just showed, he was like very isolated against an Arthas that landed the Howling Blast, and then we had Greymane close by as well.
Yeah, but the cards are going to be shuffled anew here on the second map of this best of 3 between Negative Synergy and X Team. This time we're going to move to Sky Temple. Pretty much like in the first best of 3, it's a different map, it's a larger map, and you have to play a different style there, Wolf.
Well, I was really getting excited because they didn't insta-lock Illidan, so I was like, uh-oh, are they baiting something? Is something really interesting about to happen? But he does go in his permanent spot there, so make sure you occasionally minimize and maximize your stream at home, guys. You don't want that to be burned into your screen, as Illidan is permanently in that second ban location. The first ban Zul here is interesting. Usually we do see a lot of first ban Falstad on this map in Asia. I thought they might follow suit with that, but Zul, it's not his best map, so that's kind of interesting to me.
I think one of the strategies, we see Greymane being picked up, first pick by Negative Synergy, a lot of value there, is Zul. The thing that I love about this map is when a team commits to the bottom lane, the second temple phase is always going to be that bottom temple. And if you can take out the well of your enemy team and you have somebody like Zul pushing in, it's easier for you to drop back, tap well, and then come back and re-engage. So I sometimes see that as some of these teams, depending on the region, depending on the meta, they prioritize that bottom lane
it's like
heavily.
a timing, basically, where you kill that well right before the bot temple, because that bot temple will give you 10 first almost every time. But look, instantly X Team picks up Falstad as a result. So obviously there's weaknesses and strengths to both. I wonder if they will grab Rehgar here as well.
Maybe in the last game, Negative Synergy was trying too much to kind of counter the opponents, and this time they should go back to playing their own style. I talked about how some of their favorite picks are going to be Uther, Thrall, and Liming. So if they manage to get 2 or 3 of these heroes, they've already got the Greymane here. That's going to be pretty helpful as well. I think it could go very well for them, so we'll see.
Wolf, I know you see a lot of this team. I think I saw they might play a little bit of Abathur on Sky Temple. Is that something do you think they might look at again?
It's definitely a possibility. Obviously, Misaka played an incredible Abathur, but the bigger issue is going to be the Sylvanas. That's the one to look for on this map. So we'll see if Misaka is going to be allowed to play it as it was Negative Synergy's second ban last time. I do like the Uther pick here a lot because that is incredibly synergistic with Greymane, as we've already seen. And so it's kind of a denial pick here. I think this means that we might not see Rhaegar for Negative Synergy for a while because the healer's already taken for X Team. But, oh, they're actually going to grab it really early here.
Well, if they pick a support as a response so early, it's probably because they want to hide a little bit something. They want to take it a little bit slower, right, and hide more valuable hero picks
Maybe
later
a
on.
Tyrande this time.
Well, I think the thing that we see a lot, and this is something that when I saw MVP Black's draft, traditionally, they pick up Rhaegar and they ban Uther, or they pick up Uther Tassadar and ban Rhaegar. And that's something that we've seen in that Korean-China region is that they prioritize a lot around the supports there, but taking Sylvanas is Negative Synergy, Wolf.
Yeah, I think Sylvanas is really a denial pick here again. Obviously, she's very strong on this map no matter who's got her, but X Team has shown the proclivity to use her a lot on this map. So this does open up that potential Abathur that you were talking about, maybe. It could come into play here. And something they may want to consider banning X Team here is Tassadar. Obviously works really well with Greymane. And if Sylvanas is going to be in the top lane, they're going to take out Zeratul. Didn't expect that, but I was gonna say if they have Sylvanas in the solo lane, Tassadar obviously alone can do a lot. So you can have 3 invading a shrine while 2 are splitting in the top and bot.
I love Zeratul on this map because it gives him room to play with his Void Prisons. I mean, we saw him on Cursed Hollow. The question is, are they banning Zeratul because they might have something else up their sleeve? I mean, you're talking about an Abathur. Zeratul can sneak around, and he's somewhat of a counter to an Abathur play. I feel like after that first game, they're not afraid to run Abathur on Battlefield of Eternity. Why would they be afraid to run it here?
Could be pretty good, but I feel like the time we predict it is like the time they're definitely not going to do it, though.
This, to me, is easy Thrall, okay?
Yeah.
You let Paradise be in a situation where he's got Uther and you didn't ban the Thrall. This is, like, I think the Thrall is a much better ban here than Sonya, personally.
Given the fact that also someone like a Tassadar is still ripe for the taking, right? That's additional protection for the melee assassin here. But by the same token, it could also be picked up by Negative Synergy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they almost need to right now because if you let Thrall, Paradise, it is like his main, okay? You know, lives and dies by. If you watch, like, if there was a stat those last 10 heroes picked, he'd have 11 Thralls, okay? So if you let him have Tassadar, Uther, when you've got Myrddin as well on your side, I think it's not, I just wouldn't agree with it, but we'll see. They do grab a Nubrak, which can obviously offer some disruption here.
One of the things that we've seen in, I guess, difference between regions is that North America had been running a lot of solo Anubarak, where a lot of conversations that we kind of have, where we talk about heroes, it's, are we as big on a solo Anubarak? So Negative Synergy, they realize that.
This is what we see in China all the time. An E-Star runs comp like this. This looks like an E-Star draft that Negative Synergy has right now. They've got Anubarak and Tyrael, they're going to synergize with each other up on the front lines. You've got Greymane, so you dive in, you drop the Sanctification. Really, really smart choice. I like this end of the draft.
If I'm not mistaken, E-Star was the only Chinese team that X Team could not overcome.
That's right, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
the E-Star, you know, well, they beat EDG, but E-Star knocked them out. Then, of course, Black ended up going on to win the tournament. So, yeah, that was the only team that did stop them. The Tychus here, I guess, is a response to the large health pools. Obviously, his trait's going to be good there. But they let Tassadar slide through, and I guess they just kind of forced that Tychus pick in a little way. But I was kind of getting a little bit stressed about Negative Synergy's comp until they did Nubrak Tyrael. And that's something that outside of China, we don't even really see this in Korea that often. Tempest has done it before, but when you see that come through, I'm like, okay, other regions are starting to realize that this is a viable thing that is very, very powerful.
Obviously, Tychus is known to be a tank shredder, and we have 2 very resilient warriors on the side of Negative Synergy. And do you think that a Rhaegar all by himself is enough to provide this protection that they need against the Tychus?
If I had to say it, I think one of the things to keep in mind is that I always say this, and for those who watch OGN know that I say this all the time, I think Tyrael's kind of like a secondary support. He drops shields on everybody, so he's going to give a little bit more protection. And Nubrak has a shield as well, so yeah, Tychus does shred those tanks anyways, but the shields would kind of keep them alive.
And the Welling Arrow is going to be very important as well from Sylvanas to try and blow up somebody. Ideally, I guess they're going to want to go to backline and then blow up Falstad or Tychus if they can.
Right.
Sure, there's going to be the Divine Shield, but in terms of, sanctification properly helping in these fights, there is so much potential here on the Negative Synergy side.
Yeah. So let's actually hop on to predictions once more. And Jay-Hao, is there anything that changed in game number 2? Do you still think that X Team is going to take that? Or Negative Synergy, excuse me.
Greymane changed hands, and for all the reasons Todd just made about the composition and the possibilities that they have there, I'm actually back on the Negative Synergy train again for game number 2.
And so am I. Negative Synergy is going to take it, man. You stick with your guts.
I like their draft better, but I still predict that X Team will take the second game, even though I do think
Boring.
Negative Synergy has the better draft.
I want this series to go into game number 3, so I'm going to stick with Negative Synergy. And I think we actually made a good comparison to E-Star's way of drafting. I think Negative Synergy did their homework. They did a lot of research, so let's hope that the Australian boys, that they will actually bring it to game number 3. But without further ado, guys, let's throw it over to the casters. Gillyweed and Kalaris once again. Take it away, guys.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Game number 2 about to go down between X Team and Negative Synergy on Sky Temple. Quite interesting drafts overall. I do like the Tychus pick in the end against Nubarak and Tyrael. He's going to shred them up, and we've seen how well that works out over in Korea. It does pretty good.
Yeah, you actually talk about the Korean Tychus, but the first team this summer season to run Tychus competitively in the professional match was actually X Team. They did it right at the beginning of Gold League, but let's introduce our teams.
Yes, indeed. Over to the left-hand side, it will be Negative Synergy with Sashin on Tyrael and Ninja on Greymane, Benjamin94 on Sylvanas, Despert will be on Rehgar, and finally, Robodoba will be on Anubarak.
And for X Team, we'll have Yao Yao playing Falstad, Misaka on Tychus, Tao playing Uther, Elegant on Murden, and Paradise, once again, as always, playing Thrall. It's kind of interesting to see Yao Yao on Falstad and Misaka on Tychus, because in the past when I've seen them play these two together, they were reversed, but it looks like they've have a little bit change in their comfort zones for each.
Some preferences here and there, and for now, we'll see them rotating S5 up towards the mid. Anubarak being at the front, he's going to burrow charge on away, and he will be fine.
All right, so we're looking at who is going to have the better team fight for this first Temple phase. Of course, getting the first one, the middle gives you more experience if you can get all of it because you take down a tower, but a lot of teams have been preferring the top one too because you get a better setup for the second Temple phase with regard to the bruisers.
Did I miss the memo? Is Viciousness just the talent to go to now? Am I? Did I miss the memo? Both teams?
Yeah,
have gone
actually, there was something to get out. You didn't get that email?
No, I didn't.
I'll make sure you're on the email chain next time.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I got left
I
out.
got you, buddy.
I always get left out. But anyway, so that's the thing. So we will see more of that. And again, with our lovely Tyrael going over towards Purge Evil, which is kind of the more common thing to end up when he's a bruiser alongside a second tank. And we all know for how long Anubarak can stay alive for now, actually.
Yeah, it is an interesting one because you'll see that when you want the more damage. There's a lot of different ones that you can see at the level 1. Another one would be Heraldric Reforging if you're focusing more on having more Holy Grounds up in the later game. But
he
lots
could die.
of damage from both of these here. He's going to. The lightning rod's still up, but how does he's going to time this out? Barrel roll, barrel roll?
I think he used it. He used it aggressively to get the kill.
Whoops. But he can fly back in.
Yeah.
So
Thing is, Sylvanas is now pushing actually towards the bottom as they rotate around, and that is actually a win there, I feel, for Negative Synergy.
Absolutely. That was a very interesting play. Okay, well, the first Temple phase has started. Thrall is holding the top one. Meanwhile, mid being held by Negative Synergy, and Misaka is on the chase for Benjamin. Can at least push him away from helping out these minions.
Yeah, the Haunting Wave away is all nice and dandy. And actually, now that I look at it, I think it's a win for X Team because Sylvanas being down towards the bottom meant that Falstack could then come up towards the top. Tychus didn't lose too much soak down towards the bottom, maybe like 1 or 2 minions at max. And they tried to push them away from that middle temple. Maybe they can rotate down from bottom with Thrall and maybe try and do something unless he wants to soak.
Yeah, they were trying to stall it out as long as they could so that Thrall could rotate down, but it's only a few shots left, and I think they're just going to be okay with leaving Paradise up in the top and pushing, especially since they put a lot of damage at that top 4. They might even be able to take it out before the bruisers with a rotation, but see how they're going for the early bruisers here? They just want to make sure they can get that, so they'll be in a better setup for the next Temple phase.
Yeah, makes sense. All nice. Will be fine. Oftentimes, you do see that actually timed out as the bottom temple gets popped.
Right.
But it looks like they're just wanting to be quite keen on it. We're going to see that giant camp towards the bottom start pushing. Maybe they're going to invade over towards their opponents. They're bringing the old Chinese aggression to their opponents in the Chinese team. And no, they're just scouting out, realize it's not being done, and will not invade just yet.
Well, they do have Sylvanas in the bottom along with the Giants, and Rhaegar's there too, and only Falstad to try to defend. There's at least a tower and a gate here, while meanwhile X Team do have that big push going on with the Bruisers up there. And again, only Sasha and it looks like Ninja is going to rotate around to try to help them out. So try to defend versus those Bruisers and the members there, but they're going pretty deep in this fight.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That is going to be a death, and that will be another one. Greymane falls overall. So that's going to be a guaranteed fault for them up towards the top, which is actually fantastic before that first temple phase, as you were mentioning before.
The setup for that was really good for that kill too. Elegant flanking from the side, and then he got stuck between a rock and a hard place and ended up being a feral spirit that stopped him from going any further. A good kill just in time, and an interesting one. We're still going to have the stacking talent wizened duelist for Greymane, even though he did just go down. So he's like, don't worry guys, it was just that one. I'm going to be good from here.
I like that, yeah. I'm glad it's not retroactive. You don't get punished for dying earlier on. But then again, did he have any kills anyway before? Not really, so he's all good. He'll be able to make sure he doesn't die for a little bit now. This is the better timing that I personally like for the hard camp up to the top, as this should be coming up quite soon towards the bottom, maybe in about 15 seconds.
Right, but
I mean, yeah.
For X Team and the way they got the first temple phase, and then they have the Falstad who can fly in. I think normally yes you would see that, but then in this, because of their composition, I understand the decision making for why they went for the early one for sure.
Yeah, Falstad's able to clean that up quite nicely up towards the top. He's doing good, so he'll be able to get down there nice and fast. As actually negative synergy, whoa, on towards this, and to be honest, I mean, it's locked down. Sylvanas being able to shut that down. It's 5v4 at the moment. Here comes Falstad though, coming into the fight, 5v5. Tyrael taking a lot of damage. All at the same time, Dustspurts as well will end up falling. Rhaegar's down. They can't continue this fight without Rhaegar. He does not have Chain Heal available anymore to actually keep them alive, and they're going to lose Sylvanas despite the attempt at the Haunting Wave.
Man, you think, okay, we're safe because Sylvanas can lock down the structure, but even still, the positioning from that and the aggressive fly from Falstad, and that's before they have Mighty Gust to push the whole team into a bad position.
Imagine that. Imagine if they had had that. That would have been very sticky, is the word to describe. As Paradise claimed that shrine towards the bottom for just a moment. They can't deal with this, though. 10's about to hit. And X Team here is soaking like champs with Falstad. They'll have 10. They'll be able to claim this shrine easy peasy.
Yeah, they're going to send Falstad up. He's not flying up to make sure that he has flight for the inevitable probably fight here. But he's going to clear this up, and maybe there's a fight, but maybe not, right? Negative Synergy don't want to fight with their heroics, especially big heroics like the ones that X Team have. Sundering could just be a complete team wipe if they get into a bad spot. And so they are just going to have to stay back from this. But I like that Falstad kept flight on option just in case.
Keeping the pressure on here, X Team, just in case they were able to push Negative Synergy away and get some free damage on towards that fort. Makes this shrine all the more valuable. But also the fact that there is no well there as well for Negative Synergy means that fights here are actually quite difficult. I mean, even that temple fight alone was difficult because they don't have a well, never mind anything else going on down there.
I like no well as well.
No well as well. That's what I did. I can speak words.
All right, well, they are going to abandon this fort for now in the bottom. They know Negative Synergy are pretty close to their heroic abilities, and they might try to get into this fight. And this is something they did last time. They got into a fight before 10, but now they have it. Heroics are going to be coming online, and let's see what they grab.
It's going to be Sanctification. Go for the throw. That Wailing Arrow comes up. No doubt Ancestral, and probably Locust Swarm unless they're going against the meta currently. Cocoon's kind of fallen out of favor at the moment.
I'm wondering if maybe because they have 2 warriors. Nope, they're still going to get Locust Swarm. I wondered if maybe they were going to try to Cocoon Uther so that he wouldn't have Divine Shield to bail out like Paradise if he goes for a big flank. But nope, still going to grab Locust Swarm, making sure he has that area damage as well as some self-sustain.
Yep, very, very strong, keeping him alive for quite a long time. And Anu Barak goes in a little bit further. Doesn't go too far, though. He's got great escapes anyway, so should be fine. Whilst things kind of just stabilize up for now.
But it's the same problem that Negative Synergy had against X Team in the last game. They're a full level behind. And as objectives start to pop up, they hit just in time for X Team to have a talent advantage over their opponents. And this is what Negative Synergy needs to get back. Oh, Dwarf Toss tried to go over the wall. Didn't quite make it, but that's okay. There weren't like a whole bunch of people to try to collapse on him.
Yeah, take this Haze camp down towards the bottom for now. Sylvanas will push towards the top. But there's not really too many threats here for X Team at the moment. They've slowed the pace of the game down. They don't necessarily need to push on. They're just waiting for temples. They will fight those out and just trying to get themselves to level 13, as you mentioned. Oh, this is aggressive, though. And Falstad as well as Muradin. Oh, Muradin's coming back now. Falstad's flying up as well. They need to make sure that they're not going to get this taken away from them.
Oh, Burrow Charge gets away from Elegant Stormbolt just in the nick of time. A temple phase is starting, and thankfully for Negative Synergy, it's a double, so they can hope to try to get one still, even though they're down a talent tier. But unfortunately, they are behind in the structure war, and they have some mercenaries pushing against them in the bottom lane. We're going to start to maybe get into the team fight as Ninja's going in.
13 hits as well. Florida gets picked up, and that is going to be Greymane already falling very, very quickly. Divine Shield's been popped on Thrall. He's going on towards Sylvanas as quickly as possible, haunting a wave away as the drill is going ham on towards Anubarak up towards the top, zoning him out, meaning all of this damage as well as Tyrael towards the bottom are kind of vulnerable at the moment. Anubarak's still been zoned out during that whole time, taking out Rhaegar. It's so difficult for Anubarak to get back in that fight.
Man, the zoning has been so impressive from X Team in both of these games, really just pulling apart their opponents in team fights. And Misaka catches Robodoba, who is trying to just get back to his base, dodges the Impale.
Okay, phew. If he didn't have Burrow Charge, then he could die if a grenade came in to knock him back even further there. But that is the thing. And now they just claim this. And then they're going to soak up the entirety of this temple before they even have to go to the bottom and then get that one as well. So they are well in control here.
Tychus is continuing on with what I like to call the MVP Black Tychus build.
Oh, yeah.
And they did end up getting Shrug It Off to get resistance instead of Press the Advantage. It kind of goes back and forth between those two, but we should see Titan Grenade, especially given the fact that they're up against Double Warrior from
great.
Negative Synergy. And that's going to be just so much damage that you can do very quickly to someone who is so tanky like them.
Yeah, that's the true, I don't want to make the pun, but the true synergy of that level 7 with that quarterback and that Titan Grenade just being so powerful against this kind of composition. You can force people into very precarious spots. As actually, Negative Synergy, for all intents and purposes, have done well to wrestle away this bottom temple from X Team. I mean, they almost gave them it in essence, as they're looking for higher priorities. And that is up towards the top, taking away the hard camp.
Oh, this is so cool. Yeah, Negative Synergy gets the rest of the temple, but they're going to lose Tyrael most likely here. He has to cleanse just to get out and will Eldarin's might away, but this is time when he needs to get back. He has to heal back up, and X Team are trying to steal these bruisers. Though it's a tough camp to actually steal away and a really bad spot to get a fight in, and especially since they're on the same talent tier, so they don't necessarily want to be getting into a fight right now.
Ninja went in quite far there. The Sunderwing's going to follow that up. He went on towards Falstad, didn't quite get him there at all. There's the drill, and actually the gust away. That means they're all slowed for a little bit whilst this drill's going to do some damage, although Muradin will end up falling. He was caught in a bit of a bad spot towards the left-hand side. That's going to be Thrall, though, taking down Sylvanas with that Divine Shield on him. Very, very difficult for them to take him out, and Greymane's going to fall as well.
The Wailing Arrow was so amazing from Negative Synergy, but again, Misaka was just zoning one of the warriors out. They took out Tyrael at the beginning of that fight. They kept Anubarak from getting to the rest, and that's how they secured 2 more kills after that. Although they lost the Bruisers, they gained a lot more. They picked up 16, and they're 2 levels ahead of their opponents.
Are they going down to... I thought they were going to go for boss there for a moment. It looked like there was a small window, not a big one by any means, but looking to just go towards the easy camps. Bit more quick about things. Down towards the bottom.
X Team has given them so much priority in this series. Like, they have really been focusing on mercenary camps, stealing them away. Even like Bruisers, that is not an easy camp to steal from your opponents. The Bruisers on Sky Temple, you can get into a really bad positioning because of the escape path.
Yeah, especially when they could have just sat back and at level 15.5, just soaked 16, and then maybe even done it a little bit later there, whilst we take a look at PBE there for a moment. As we'll see Ninja just kind of cleaning things up towards the top.
Yeah, Negative Synergy really need to get 16 in some fashion. If they could find somebody caught out, that's one way to do it. But it seems like every time they do that, they end up losing more than they would gain from it, as there's always members from X Team who can be around very quickly, especially because they have the global presence with Falstad.
Yeah, and speaking of Falstad, he's playing such a safe build as Yao Yao with the Flow Rider and also the Airy Gusts at level 16 as well. So he is very much so safe from the idea of Greymane ever trying to jump on towards him. He can get away pretty quickly.
Even hammer gains is not something that necessarily we see a lot of. It's coming around a lot more, but here goes the fight again as Elegant is going to use his avatar.
Yeah, and that could be... Robodoba does not get saved on his Anubarak. The Ancestral Healing just barely doesn't hit him, and Ninja gets caught in between a rock and a hard place. Very, very quickly there. That's 2 for 0 for X Team. 3 levels ahead, zoning them out, even with the drill doing damage during all of that time as well. Great fight by X Team.
Negative Synergy's own wall ending up being an enemy versus
I know.
them as Yao Yao barrel rolls in and gusts him into that spot, and that's a great reactive play.
You say that. Sometimes in my Hero League games, I wish I could kill my own walls.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, especially when I'm against an Illidan. Don't get me started. But anyway, jumping around everywhere. They're going to take themselves a boss. And Tyrael, well, doesn't have 16, so he doesn't have a Holy Ground, so he couldn't even try anything anyway. Sorry, buddy.
Well, now with that boss, that's just further pressure for Negative Synergy to have to deal with. And a keep in mid is getting pretty low. There's still a 4 even remaining for X Team 2, so they have buffers still versus the Temples. Pushing again with the boss, they get a Feral Spear on Robodoba, and they're just going over this Death Bridge. It's something that normally, you know, you have to be very
Yeah.
careful in fighting on, but when you're the aggressors are pushing in, they have time, especially because since they need to take down this boss first before we even see Negative Synergy really trying to get out into the fight.
It's not as scary a bridge as that Dragon Shire. Bridge, Robodoba. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Calm down, my friend. You know, for all intents and purposes, as much as Anub'arak is normally tanky, he's actually been shredded up by things like Thrall very quickly. It's actually something that gets through that dampen magic very, very quickly on the side of Thrall with the lightning. Oh, dear. Tyrael Sashin gets away, but that boss is on towards Core. They are looking to do big, big damage here.
Yeah, and they love this rotation up to the mid. They drop down the Draken Laser Drill, and they can use it to zone people away and flip it over to the keep when they know that they've got the ability to do so. Now they're again using it to zone. They bring out the Mighty Gust even too, just to make sure they can pick up a second keep off of that.
Yeah, and zero reason for them to engage when they're so close to level 20. Now they've got it. If they wanted to turn around, they could, but they don't have that much mana across, say, Thrall, for example, so it wouldn't be the easiest. But they're trying to lure them in, and Anub'arak will take a lot of damage. That's a full stun lock. Ancestral Healing will get him, as well as that Burrow Charge away, just barely keeping him alive. But they've burned that Ancestral Heal now. It's still level 20 against level 16, Gilly.
Ninja's going to go down, and they're going to continue. Sanctification only hits Tyrael himself, but they bring down Paradise. Dasperts, though, up in the front will go down, and it's a 2-for-1, and X Team want to continue. Yao Yao is chasing down Benjamin while the rest of the team deals with the final couple of people. Tyrael drops, only Anub'arak left, and that should be game ending.
Yeah, that should. Very, very well played out fight by them. They lost one in the end, but it was only Thrall. They have some sustain left available to them here with Uther to go and claim on towards this core. And Anub'arak with his tail between his legs. Does Anub'arak have a tail? I'm not sure. But he's going to have to run on away. Not really too helpful. And sacrifice himself to the Tychus gods, because that minigun don't take no warriors prisoner, Gilly.
No, both of those warriors, in fact,
Yeah.
were prisoner basically the entire game. They just could do nothing versus Misaka, let alone the other damage dealers they had, like Yao Yao, who's got the good single target damage, and Thrall too, but man, really showing the power of Tychus, and X Team pick up a quick 2-0 over Negative Synergy.
Yeah, indeed. GG. X-Team looking strong to start things off here. Didn't really drop the ball too much during that game. All 16 kills to 4 in total there. But Negative Synergy showed signs of life, I will say, across that. It was very difficult, though, to go up against the kind of shot calling and decision making that we saw from X-Team.
That does mean Negative Synergy will drop down and play versus Renovation 1 tomorrow. Those two teams became really good friends during the Spring Global Championship, so I know that they were kind of bummed that they were going to be in the same group again. One of them will have to eliminate the other from the group, but such is life in pro gaming.
That is true. It happens quite a lot across our pro gaming lives. So that is going to be X-Team moving on at 2-0. They're going up against MVP Black, which is the hype series that we are going to be seeing from this group for sure.
Yeah, the last time they went up against each other was in Gold League, and it was a 3-0 for MVP Black. Pretty convincing 3-0. But X Team obviously have shown that they've been working really hard to improve, and that was kind of the story for them for Gold League from the beginning, is how much they've improved to get to this point.
And the funny thing about that is that the X Team, MVP Black are kind of the main reason X Team are here, in part, apart from beating EDG, of course.
That's true.
But because MVP Black took first place in Gold League,
Yes.
and X Team came third, they were like, well, MVP Black, you've already qualified through Korea, guys, so you can you don't get 2 seeds.
Yeah, you don't get
two
to qualify
chances.
through someone else's regional. Come on, MVP Black.
So that's kind of the reason X Team are here. Of course, that result against EDG was kind of important as well.
It was, as well as taking out OMG.
True. Yeah. So we are going to head over to the panel now to hear what the boys have to say about X Team versus Negative Synergy.
Thank you very much, Kalaris. The boys stand ready, or we basically sit ready, right? pretty good.
We're
too.
always ready.
All right. So yeah, X Team, they just took this series pretty convincingly here, 2-0. So they're not breaking any sweat, just like MVP did in the previous series. So far, the ship's moving on course, right? The Asian team not really giving in, not showing any major weaknesses here, guys. Was this to be expected? And what was your overall impression on Negative Synergy here?
Well, I think this was to be expected. I think the what I'm seeing from Negative Synergy is like a bit of nerves, maybe. Some of the team fights we're seeing from them are just, I don't even know any word for it except like incorrect. Like the positioning we're seeing of Kael'thas is a little bit off. The sanctifications we saw in that last game were, some of them were just not where they needed to be. We had Sanks being used outside of the fight or only hitting Tyrael. There was no synergy to keep everybody alive. And their team fighting, I think, was kind of the big weakness there overall. And I think that if they could kind of shape it up going to the rest of this group, they could still maybe get out, but they just got to like get over their nerves, and losing that first game probably going to help.
And you mentioned team fights, Wolf, there. I think we can definitely take a closer look on the team fights here when we go over the first replay, JL.
Yeah, I think we're going to take a look at a lot of what Wolf was just talking about, some of the strengths and weaknesses. As we take a look at the fight here, let's go ahead and pause it real quick. The Sundering comes out right here. You're going to see this right here, and we're going to have an Ancestral. And this is kind of the thing, is it going to be nerves? Let's go ahead and let it play through. The Sundering is going to hit. The Ancestral too late, too little, too late. That's a lot of what we saw kind of on a repeated basis coming out from Negative Synergy, is that it seemed like they were making plays just a split second too late. Is that one of the things to where nerves is taking place, as what Wolf talked about? And that's tended to be kind of the theme throughout this game.
Yeah, a few missed cleanses as well.
But
And
they were already a little bit behind there, and you know, again, I want to go back to what I was talking about how you can't really fall behind against a team like X Team, otherwise you're in big trouble. And this may have been one of the flaws of their plan here. They try to play against X Team as you would play against any other team, whereas if you know you're playing against someone better, there is almost going to be a way, you know, one weakness that you can use. So I think maybe trying to take a backseat, playing it a little bit slower and kind of hanging in there would have been a better choice, getting into less fights. And even if you fall a little bit behind, it's better than trying to fight more and falling very far behind.
Yeah, now we're going to take another crucial moment closer into inspection here, Jay. Talk us through replay number 2.
Yeah, this one right here is a fun one. You're instantly, let's go ahead and watch this. There's the Mighty Gust that comes down and pushes everybody in. And on the backside, let's go ahead and pause it first real quick. Things looked really good right about here. Things were starting to turn in favor of Negative Synergy. Let's go ahead and play it through. You'll see they get the kill. But this is when mistakes start to happen. And I hate to say it, look on the backside, perfect Wailing Arrow lands, but the next move, Haunting Wave comes in. Now look, pause right now. As we look at this, look where Sylvanas' position is. She instantly landed almost a perfect Wailing Arrow, tried to capitalize, and went in way too deep. And this is where you have the rest of the team back here, and Sylvanas right here. And that is kind of like the beginning of the end when you overcommit. Let's go ahead and play this out, and you'll see where it starts to kind of return as Sylvanas just instantly gets blown up, and the rest of the team turns, and that's where the fight just really started to turn. In that, again, a lot of what Wolf talked about. Things were somewhat correct, but then at the same time, it's like, you got really aggressive, and it was a bit of a misplay.
Some might say that Synergy wasn't the best in this fight.
yeah,
I had to.
you had to go there. You had to
We
go
didn't
there.
use it. We didn't make enough jokes about the team name. I got it out of the way now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not over yet for Negative Synergy. They still have their chance to actually make it through the losers match. Do you think that their performance was good enough to still give them a little bit of confidence going into this next best of 3?
I would favor them over Renovatio based on what we just saw. Yeah, the games were maybe one-sided. The Renovatio's games were just Black, but Black was, you know, experimenting, messing around a little bit maybe. But I do think that now that they've lost this series and they have time to reflect before they go into their match against Renovatio, I do think that they have the better like drafts. Their drafts are really solid. I'm like looking at drafts, and I feel like there's a lot of influence from China and Korea in it. And I think if they could just tighten up their team fighting a little bit, then I think they have a decent shot of, you know, I think they will beat Renovatio, and maybe in the rematch where they will likely face X Team again, maybe a better shot.
And we're not done yet because there was one more highlight that Jay Hao wants to take you through.
Yeah, I think this is, I hate to, you know, continue to pile on, but at the same time, here it is again. Let's go ahead and talk about positioning once again. Let's pause one more time. Right here in the middle is Anub'arak, and we talked about him being kind of the main tank. As we're actually going to see, you're going to see Anubis right here. He's actually going to land the shot on here. As let's go ahead and play this forward just a little bit, and we're going to see another, and this is actually going to take just a moment to play out. And here comes the stun. Bam! Let's pause it right now. He's already down. Ancestral already too late, and you're going to see he's going to go down, and this is where the team fight happens, and once again drops down as the fight goes on. Down goes Anubarak, and again, just a little bit slow on their reaction times, and I don't know, again, if that's nerves, if it's just trying to deal with the aggression that's coming forward as we see just some tough plays. Anubarak is very tough to be in that deep.
Yeah, definitely so. But obviously, if you play him right, it can work out. And I think, again, it's just once they get more comfortable in this setup, I think they will team fight better.
All right, we're now being joined by the victors of this series, of course, X Team. First of all, congratulations for your victory. You did play very, very well. And my first question for you is actually, you beat a lot of good Chinese teams in the qualifiers, OMG, EDG, and now you just won over the Negative Synergy as well. So how comfortable, how confident are you in this tournament? You understood what I was saying? Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Can you respond in English?
No, I just know a little bit.
Okay.
我们的话虽然看起来赢了很多的就是强队嘛，然后出现，但其实还是有一些运气原因的，就我们的实力还是缺少一些问题的。我觉得呢，反正就打出自己的东西吧，其实也没有说自信这方面的问题吧，就我们心态放得比较平和，就是能打成什么样就是什么样。
Even though we beat a lot of the Chinese teams before, and we just beat Negative Synergy, but I think there's a lot of luck involved. It's not about that we are the strongest team, so we just want to play to the best of our ability right now.
All right, cool. Now let's actually throw it over to some of the casters and the analysts. Do you have a question for?
So I want to ask a question. Right. I know that Paradise is a great Thrall player, but a lot of the Western fans actually kind of criticize how weak his hero pool is because he plays a lot of Thrall. Does he have any plans to expand maybe a little bit more later on in this tournament?
听得懂。
其实是这样的，他自己呢是非常讨厌用萨尔这个英雄的，但是就是这个英雄比较强嘛，然后有先手能力，有反手能力，然后伤害也比较高，然后又前期后期都在控制，然后就我比较爱帮他选，他其实他的英雄池是非常非常多的，他所有的近刺和前排都是会用的，然后都用的比较好吧。其实他萨尔是他最苦恼的一个英雄，但是因为这个英雄很强，所以一直在用。他的英雄池其实蛮宽阔的。
Actually, it is his least favorite hero to play. But as the captain, I think that Thrall is a really great hero because he has good catch and good damage, and he can do well, from early game to late game. And that's why I keep picking this hero for him. But him as a player has a really wide hero pool. It's just my fault that I keep doing it for him.
All right, awesome. One final question, maybe, Jay-Hao?
Yeah, you have familiarity with MVP Black. Going in, do you have a certain type of confidence? How do you feel going into the next round, or at least the next set of games?
我觉得呢，还是那句话吧，打出自己的东西吧。MVP 的话，我们训练赛和比赛也跟他们交手过挺多次的，然后他们也是最近刚输过一个比赛嘛，我不知道他们什么情况，反正我们就是打好自己的，我也没有太研究他们，反正也不知道怎么说吧，就是发挥出自己水平就好。
So we know that MVP is a very strong team on paper, but they just lost match recently as well. But I don't want to think too much on their side. We don't know what their confidence level is, and I don't study MVP so much. I just want to play to the best of my ability and hope that will carry us through.
All right. Thank you very much, and good luck for your next series against MVP Black. It's going to be an amazing one. All right. So, guys, we basically are just getting started. Don't worry. We still have more Heroes of the Storm goodness coming up. And to make this more clear to you, we're actually going to take a look at the groups once again. Because as you know, we have two group stages. Group A here, of course, was played already. Renovatio and Negative Synergy, unfortunately, at the bottom of the table here. X Team, of course, and MVP Black. They are on good course. One victory under their belt. That's definitely what we want to see. And, of course, for Group B, which is also going to take place right now after the next commercial break, we have Please Buff Arthas, Gale Force Esports, My Insanity, and Big God. So definitely a stacked roster. Good best of threes are going look to come up here for sure. Also, guys, if you want to participate in the discussion, if you want to let us know like who you think is going to win this group phase or even the entire tournament, you can definitely let us know by tweeting stuff at #HGC. That's definitely the place to be. We can also take a look at the now updated bracket. So let's actually see like who is going to make it into the winners matches. We see, as we mentioned, Team X against MVP Black, definitely the Asian showdown, so to speak. A lot of fans are definitely going to be looking forward to this one. And down in the losers bracket, or in the losers half, we see, of course, Renovatio against Negative Synergy. But when the underdog plays an underdog, this can actually get really wild and crazy. So I'm definitely looking forward to this series as well. Guys, any comments on the current situation that we've got in the bracket?
For me, I mean, obviously this is what we expected, but X team played really, really well, and I'm hoping to see them take a game in that series against MVP Black. But I think the biggest thing to take away from all of this is that I do think Negative Synergy looked really good if they can just tighten up, and I feel like they've improved a lot since the previous season when we were in Spring Champs.
Anything to add there, Gio?
To further expand on that, I mean, the fact that no matter who wins that lower bracket, they're going to be facing one of the Asian teams that we just saw who looked really good. So it's a matter of them to possibly get it out of the way and then continue to try and take that next step to try, and after they got the nerves out of the way, and possibly try and get to the next stage with the advancement.
All right, guys. So thank you once again to X Team for this interview, and good luck for the upcoming series. For now, don't go anywhere. After a short commercial break, we're going to be back with more group phase action here in the Heroes of the Storm Summer Championship. My Insanity, of course, and Gale Force Esports. So stay tuned.